This upcoming concert season will be all about the boots, and Tecovas is your stop for the best in Western style. Tecovas has seasonal and limited edition offerings this spring and summer, including men's and women's boots, apparel, hats, bags, and more. All Tecovas boots are made by hand in a time-honored tradition with timeless styles that are always on trend. And Tecovas has first wear comfort with little to no break-in period. It's hard to find this level of comfort paired with this level of style. Stop by your local Tecovas store, have a complimentary drink or two, that's WCB style, and shop new styles. The smell of fresh leather and friendly staff are at your service. Many stores even have leather custom branding to make your boots truly personalized. And with regular live music and events, there's no in-store experience like it. If you can't make it into a store, just visit tecovas.com. That's TECOVAS.com. They offer free shipping on all boots, as well as free returns and exchanges, and ship right to your door. Go to tecovas.com and find your new favorite pair of boots today.
Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
It's done.
Connor McDavid! It's not real!
The goal of the year,
Panarin!
part of the past. The celebrations, forgotten. The history,
Vegas Golden Knights!
history. We're back to a blank slate. Clean ice. All that matters now is what happens next. The Stanley Cup playoffs.
Eastern Conference Final begins Wednesday.
Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast with Kevin and Chuck.
I always consider the settlement of America with reverence and wonder, as the opening of a grand scene and design in Providence, for the illumination of the ignorant and the emancipation of the slavish part of mankind all over the earth. That's a John Adams quote. And I think it's relevant because today's episode is about what makes America great.
What makes America great? Now, I think what we want to do is we're going to talk about America at its founding. And, you know, we all have our opinions of what shape our country's taken and the changes and different things going on. But, you know, at its roots, America is really something unique and amazing. And so this week, it was ugly. The kid comes home, brings home her paper from English class. She's supposed to read the Declaration of Independence and write her opinion on it. And
oh, no.
She made the mistake of showing it to me.
Ugh.
And this is where it all falls apart. So, basically, the gist of her paper was, well, everybody's equal. And that's it. There was no distinction of the government doesn't make us equal, or is it, from God? There was nothing there. Nothing. It just, my mind was blown. I'm speechless.
Well, how old is she?
Now, I think we're talking about a soon-to-be 16-year-old.
Somebody that should be articulate in their opinions and ideas.
In the advanced placement European history class.
Mm.
But the paper, obviously not European history, is from the honors English class, where we would expect high honors and excellent work.
And intelligent opinions.
And it just, I just was shocked and blown away, and it makes me question the whole school system and how things are today. You know, the Declaration, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with rights. It just, by their Creator, not the government.
The government doesn't decide that you're even.
They went so far that they even say that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government. I mean, I know they're talking about England there, and I know people run off crazy and whatever, and I'm not saying overthrow the government, but it's clear these people do not feel their rights come from the government.
Right.
That's communism says we're all equal. I mean,
Right.
it's all equal there.
According to the government, with communism.
The government, we're all equal. We're
Right.
all the same. Somehow, some of us live in the freaking Kremlin, and we might not live in the Kremlin, but we're equal. And for a really bright student to just miss the point like that makes me feel that America's maybe got some shortcomings and is maybe missing some steps along the way. And I get so frustrated, I don't even know. So, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, I think that it's a little bit of a tricky, sticky area because, you've got kids. They can only learn so much. You forget sometimes how stupid children are. I always want to punch my kid, but then I realized that when I was 12 years old, I did dumb stuff too. It takes a while to really thresh out, concise ideas about what your place is in the world you live in.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get misguided on that path.
Right. I mean, it just, yeah. I mean, once you start going down the road of communism, I heard one of the candidates is talking about 90% corporate tax rate. I mean, the way I look at it, if you make a business, you risk everything that you have. If you win, you get $1 out of every 10 that you earn. And if you fail, nobody bails you out. Nobody gives nothing. You were dumb for trying.
Right. Well, that's kind of the idea. If you can crush any new business, then you can be in charge. The government doesn't have a right to do anything except prosecute lawbreakers. So their only way to coerce people is to make everything illegal.
And
right? Then all they have to do is say, we'll let you get by on this, but
right.
you have to do us this solid.
You end up with a world based on bribery and favors.
Right.
And it just, it's disgusting to me. And I don't know why I get so passionate and so crazy about it. But it's just, there's so many laws that, we can make an exception for you if you return this favor to me. And you concede all these different values that you have.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to deal with when you're dealing with your children, too, because, in reality, you should just be able to smack them whenever they say something stupid, but that doesn't really help, You have to really correct them and teach them. They're like sponges, and they suck up everything their teachers say. You got to make sure you say more than their teachers do.
Well, I definitely do a fair amount of talking, so we're in there.
It can be scary. If you're scared of talking to your children, don't be surprised when they turn out messed up.
It's bad. So, I mean, that's, first, I just want to talk for a minute about communism, because honestly, socialism, communism, fascism, basically, all throughout history, up until America came along, it was about the government giving you power and being in charge, be it a dictator, a king, or some form of government. They always ruled over people, and you did what you were told. And some things, equal distribution, it sounds like a nice idea, but we all know that when it comes down to it, that, you're not going to work hard if you're not rewarded for what you do.
Right. And I think, the law of nature dictates capitalism. That's how free trade and commerce between humans happen. Capitalism is the natural law of economics.
Work for trade.
Right.
That is capitalism. And, actually, one of the things, back to America being great, that's one of the ideas that is actually unique to America. And that was not considered the accepted path early on. People despised work and despised, people who did menial labor were beneath,
Right.
I think there was an Oscar Wilde quote, to take out the trash is depressing enough, that to have pride in it is just appalling. And
that's Oscar Wilde?
Oscar Wilde. And
Yeah.
I'm like, really? But, you know, I mean, that's kind of the way the world views it, is work is, you know, beneath. That's for the low class, and that's really how the world was until America came along.
Well, you know, when we talk about prepping and survivalism and these types of things, I think when it comes down to it, the lower class has a distinct advantage in the sense that, you know, if you are, say, a doctor, a lawyer, somebody that specializes very specific, and your car breaks down, you have to get it towed to a mechanic. If you don't have that kind of money, you're well used to fixing your car and you know how to do it. You know, a poor person has certain abilities just because they've been forced throughout their life to do these sorts of things, you know? Try and get a lawyer to operate a ride-on lawnmower, and you're going to have a hard time, you know?
I do see it. I do see a lot of things where, you know, that's it. I mean, because definitely when you have less money, you have to fix and take care of things yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's normal. I mean, that's just the way, you know, things seem to be. That, you know, the working man is the guy who actually gets his hands dirty and gets into things.
And, knows how to fix a car, knows how to fix a stove. You know, there's a lot of people that can't even cook over a fire.
Yeah.
If you can't cook your food over an open fire, then you've missed some serious parts in your childhood.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it'd be nice to go camping and get outside and let people know, you know. It's a different world when they go and experience it.
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of people that don't even know how to properly start a campfire.
Now,
you know?
When you think of the Founding Fathers and some of the things that make America unique, what comes to mind? Like, what things strike you as, you know, something unique and different about America that's...
Well, every time I read anything that any of these guys wrote, you know, talking about Jefferson, Adams, Washington, there's quite a few of them. But it shocks me how intelligent they are, how well-worded everything is that they put together. And when you think about the idea that they were forming a type of government that has never really existed before, it's kind of amazing.
Now, America's a representative republic.
Not a democracy, right?
I know, and I always hear, America's a democracy. Well, democracies have been around. A representative republic is different. Now, do you know what makes it different? You want to share this? I'm sure you do.
Democracy, right, that's kind of like mob rule.
I like mob rule.
I like mob rule. You know, as long as you're a white man, mob rule is good for you.
All right.
But we're not all white men.
No?
No.
All right. So, that's the thing. So, what it is within the confines of the Constitution, we're basically a democracy. So it's a democracy with limits.
Right.
So you have the Constitution that's a strict outline of what the government can and can't do, and then it's kind of mob rule. Now, I know we've gotten away from that, and it seems to just be mob rule. That definitely seems to be a pattern that our country wants to take. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I get so disgusted when I hear all these people, they say, oh, you know, America was just founded by a bunch of rich white guys who just wanted to make money for themselves and keep their money, and they just didn't like the oppressive England. But it's so different, our system, that it allows any individual to be able to change station in life. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the unique things. No. It's so uncommon in countries like England and a lot of the European nations, Germany, France, you know, albeit when your dad's a plumber, you become a plumber, and you just kind of stick with that path. And it's so unique to America that you can kind of be whatever you want to be because you have the ability to go to college and do unique things. Right. And that's because of our system.
Right. You have an interest, and you can follow that interest because of, you know, and I think a big part of what shapes America is something as simple as free speech. When you can talk about your ideas without having to worry about what you say and what words you use and who you might insult, there's a lot of stupid ideas that come out of that. But for every 100 stupid ideas, there's a gem in there.
I like the gem.
And a lot of people that can come up with a unique idea after following 50 stupid ones can progress in life. I have a lot of friends of mine, to go back to what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends of mine that are, believe it or not, that are socialists, and sit around and argue with them a lot. They get angry because there's so many people out there that have so much money.
Yes.
And they think that if they tax those people, if those people get taxed, they'll have more. But those people being rich isn't making them poor.
Right.
Everyone's talking about getting a piece of the pie, but it's not. The whole world is a bakery. All you got to do is make your own pie.
Well, America is so unique. You really can go anywhere. It's funny. I was just reading a story about Thomas Edison, and he said that when he was a kid, and I don't even know if it's true, it's something I read on the internet. Who knows?
Right.
Anything on the internet, right?
Anything.
So when he was a kid, his teacher gave him a letter and said, look, you need to take this home and give it to your mom. Don't show it to anybody else. Give it to your mom and let her read it and, let her get my message. So takes home the letter, gives it to his mom. He's like, Mom, what does it say? What's going on? She says, your teacher said you are so bright, you're a genius, and there are no teachers in this school who can even help you anymore. And he thinks that I should just teach you at home and raise you up because I've done such a good job so far that, they don't even want to get in the way of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he talks about later, after she's passed on, he's going through her things and he finds the letter from the teacher. And it says, your son is such an idiot. We can't even teach him. And there's no way we're going to even allow him to come back to our school. He's so dumb. He's wasting our time and the time of his fellow students.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what America is, where you can be anybody and invent yourself into, whatever. All these people come from, varied backgrounds. Obviously, there's rich people who become rich. And, I think in part it's basically the values that you're taught. But anybody can go to the library and change their station in life. Yeah. And because of capitalism, there are so many people willing to back a good idea. People say, oh, I have a great idea, and if I had money, I could do it. You know what? If you really have a good idea, there's money out there.
Right. And I think that's one of the things about this country. It draws people. It draws people with good ideas. It draws people who think outside the box. A lot of people, this country is founded by immigrants.
And creative thinkers.
Yeah, people that came here, there's obviously traveling from your country to an unknown place, that's scary.
Yeah.
But there's some people that aren't intimidated by that type of fear, and that's what this country is built out of, those type of people.
It is the people.
Both my grandfathers were immigrants.
All right.
One immigrated from Canada, so I don't know if that counts. But he did immediately join the Marines to kill, in his words, to kill Slanty Eyes. Now, I don't know if that's...
Is that politically correct? Is that
I don't think you can say that.
Today,
he could say it.
All right.
He was a mean old man that killed Slanty Eyes. If your ambition in life is to kill or get killed, the Marines is a perfect place for you.
Clint Eastwood, we did see a movie. He had some choice words for people of different ethnic backgrounds. Mm-hmm. So I have seen that play out. So I'm with you there. Mm-hmm. No, actually, that reminds me. One of the things, about America that really stands out is to be a German. That means your parents were both German and their parents were German, and it's in your blood. You're a German.
Right.
Englishman, same thing. Frenchman, same thing. America, well, they all were immigrants because they came here.
Right.
But it didn't matter. Anybody could become a citizen in America. And that was actually unique. That was different. You could go to Germany and you could do business there, but you wouldn't be a German.
Right.
And that's a very different thing, whereas America was actually accepting.
Right. You're an American. If you were born in Switzerland and you came here, you're an American.
It didn't matter.
But, I think that's one of the great things, too, about the country is that you have all these different cultures, colliding with one another. And they're leaving all the dumb parts behind and meeting all the new good ideas, the best aspects of every country, kind of became values in this country.
Yeah. Now, definitely the melting pot has helped shape, America into something great. The same thing. I hear slavery. Oh, well, America, they had slavery it was created by slave owners. I hear this, and it sickens me. You know what? Everybody throughout history, had slavery. It's been in every part of the world.
And it's still in a lot of parts of the world. Slavery isn't completely abolished the world over. There's a lot of places in the world where slavery is still common.
So I also want to take this back, the Bill of Rights. That's something hugely unique that cut us apart. And that was the thing. They were so afraid of an oppressive government that they wanted to make sure that the little man, the individual was taken care of.
Right. There's distinct rights that are inalienable to all people.
Everybody else, the governments were set up as the government has rights. The government, I think Obama said it best with, in America, it's not about what the government can do to the people, but what the people can do to the government. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's backwards, I don't like it, whatever.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But, that's what makes America unique and different.
Well, I think it's important that, the country stays in the vein that the government is afraid of the people.
Yeah.
And the people aren't afraid of the government. And I think we're getting a little bit backwards lately.
We are definitely getting backwards on that.
One of the reasons the government should be afraid of the people,
tell me,
is having an armed population.
I do like an armed population.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
one of the reasons that Japan never even considered invading the United States was I forget the name of the general, but he was quoted as saying that if you invade the United States, there will be a gun barrel hidden behind every blade of grass, because everybody owns a gun. And, the truth is, most people that own a gun know how to use it.
That is the truth.
And there are a lot of people that own guns that don't know how to use it. But, when you're
but
familiar
they're
with
few
your
and far
firearms,
between with the rest of us.
Yeah, when you're familiar with your firearms, you can do amazing things with them.
Yes. No, I'd have to agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, private citizens owning firearms. That was huge.
Mm-hmm.
That was not commonplace. Now, again, there's hunting, but you know what, honestly, in England and all these other places, it was the rich that had guns.
Right.
It wasn't, the commoner.
Right.
And you have the common man in America. We started out, everybody owned a gun.
Right. But it was very distinct in England, and it still is, that there's a difference, Yeah. There's the aristocrat, and there's the average person.
And still, they weren't the soldier gun owner. They were the pheasant hunter and
and
I
think
the true sportsman, whatever.
No, I think the term rugged individuality has a
uniquely American ring.
Right, it does. It was given a bad name, but it's really a distinct American trait. If you give a man his own space, he can take care of himself. He doesn't need welfare. He doesn't need government assistance.
No, we're talking about America at its founding, right?
Well, no, I'm still talking about America.
America today.
Today.
Really?
But it's very easy to get on that government teat and just keep sucking because nobody's going to pull you off of it.
They don't seem to try.
There are definitely a lot of people that need a swift kick in the ass, but a lot of people think say everybody's stupid. Everybody's stupid.
I have heard people say that.
I don't think that's true.
Really?
Believe it or not, I have a great respect for mankind.
All right.
And for the average man in America.
I like your positive attitude. So you're saying that there, to be a prepper and prepare and be able to take care of business like we talk about in this podcast, you're saying that's a lot of Americans out there.
That's distinctly American.
All right. I like it.
Everybody with a decent plot of land, and, if you don't own a decent plot of land, you should go about getting one. But everybody with a decent plot of land can manage their business. If you have space for your animals, you have space for your vegetables, that takes a lot of the burden off of your bank account.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. To know that you can provide and take care of your family takes a lot of stress.
Right.
There's no doubt.
And it's a big burden off of your shoulders if if you have a tight budget and you can go outside and get vegetables out of your garden.
Yeah.
If you can go outside and get your eggs for breakfast, you don't ever have to worry about your kids being hungry. And it can be kind of crappy eating spinach
Even
and
if you have
broccoli
crappy
every day.
chickens like mine, they might still go hungry. I mean, they might get an egg.
They might
but
get
you're
chicken.
breaking it 3 ways. But you might get chicken.
You might
right.
get chicken.
I think we mentioned that earlier.
I'm always bad mouthing my neighbors. They have these turkeys.
I
and
did
turkeys
hear
are
some
always
gobbling.
squawking and gobbling, and they're always in my yard, getting up on my new roof, scratching up the shingles and stuff. But the truth is, they don't eat the turkeys. They don't eat the turkey eggs. They just have them as pets. But if I get hungry, and I was feeling a little bit peckish earlier this evening, I'll run over there. I will snatch one of their turkeys up and wring its neck. I have no problem. If you have a turkey for a pet, you're an idiot.
I had a customer who's like, I have this turkey and it's this huge male, all impressive and whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
they were like, we're trying to find it a good home. Would you like to take it? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And they're like, you just have to promise that you're not going to eat it. And I'm like,
never mind.
No, this is awkward, I'm like,
no,
you just
delicious
too.
too.
I was good to go,
Uh-huh.
But that's how it goes sometimes. Now, we kind of moved right into the Second Amendment because I know you had mentioned freedom of religion and you even mentioned the right to assemble. But what, with that too is the freedom of the press.
Mm-hmm.
And, now I seem, everyone argues the press is so slanted and whatever. But that is a pretty unique idea to America too,
right.
The freedom of the press.
Right. Well, the idea that you can talk bad about your government, that's not an old idea.
Really?
That hasn't been around forever.
No, people like to talk bad about the government?
Right. And I think they should.
Really?
You should always be talking bad about your government. There's always problems with our government. There's problems with any government.
There is problems with any government.
We do have a course of reaction, though, that you can take with the government that's not treating you properly and not moving in your right direction.
So we can take legitimate grievances.
Right. I mean, if you don't vote, you're an idiot. You're the problem with the country.
Now, but I am willing to say if you are an idiot, I recommend you don't vote. So,
I was in
both
trouble
ways.
a few months ago. There was an election coming up, and I was at a gas station with a couple of people behind me, a couple people in front of me,
All right.
and somebody said, "Now remember to go vote." And I said, "Voting's for losers. Only idiots vote." And everyone looked at me aghast. And this woman said, "You shouldn't say things like that. You'll influence people." And I said, "The only thing that statement the only person that statement will influence is idiots. And if you're stupid enough to listen to some dummy in a gas station, then you have no obligation to go vote. You're an idiot, and you're making bad decisions for everybody. So if you're going to make bad decisions, and if you know idiots, I encourage you to do this. If you know idiots, discourage them from voting."
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I don't know. I keep preaching it, but we will see. Now, you know what, actually? The Third Amendment in the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
You can't quarter soldiers in your house. Now, this, again, should explain to everyone why America is so great.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that needs to be said
Right.
is a big deal.
Right. And that doesn't come up very often, but it has come up on occasion. There have been court cases that people won based on that amendment because the DEA wanted to use their house for surveillance on another home.
Okay.
And they gave them no option. They were doing it.
Yeah.
And, turns out
No.
the
maybe
government
not.
doesn't have that right. So there's a lawsuit, and
I like it.
the people won.
All right. Moving on, the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure, the right to be secure in your papers.
Now, what does that really mean? What are your papers? What is the right to be secure in your person and papers? Is that what it says, or just in your papers? All right, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon the probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Right. So that's a pretty unique to America idea.
Right. That's very distinct, and I think it gives us a lot of leeway. Now, I know that bill, in my opinion, has been being eroded because you might still have rights in the security of your papers.
But your phone
But your
calls,
emails are papers.
And
there's
your
a lot of things that
papers
are
are your
papers.
letters, which honestly are your phone calls of today.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest.
But they're not as secure. Somebody's keeping that, in a database, and if you're ever in trouble, they can bring up everything you've ever said or done.
You know what I heard? I heard with cell phones that if you have it's been ruled in court, if you have with the thumbprint to open up like your iPhone,
Yeah.
they can force you to do that, but if you have the passcode, they can't make you unlock it.
Oh, really?
So, I mean,
That's
just
strange.
stupid semantics.
Right.
And
I have a friend of mine that's a lawyer that has said on occasion when we've been having distinct conversations that could be mistaken,
What?
that has asked me to take my battery out of my phone. Because that they can turn, everywhere you go, you're carrying a microphone in your pocket.
You are carrying a microphone
And,
in your
if
pocket.
you don't disengage it...
Now, I
and
put
somebody,
the microphone on the table. We're putting
Right.
it out there.
Right.
But
we're idiots in the
and we
sense
are
of
idiots.
my, protecting
Personal
my
security.
privacy.
Yes.
But, I'm talking about all sorts of stuff that a lot of people wouldn't like. I'm not going to tell you how to make bombs,
No, we're not going to go there.
but,
Now, I might tell you where you can find the information. Damn it.
there's a lot of places where you could acquire that information. It isn't very hard.
But bombs are just freaking creepy. I don't really get behind that.
They're
I-
very
you know what? I don't wanna
uncaring
get
on
stabbed.
specific targets.
I don't want to get stabbed, and I don't want to get like fingers blown off.
Uh-huh.
It just
Those are
really
two,
those are two things I'm not down for.
Uh-huh.
Getting shot, getting in a fight, I'm okay with those things.
Really?
I'll work in that world.
I've always been
You don't wanna
have
get
an
shot?
aversion of getting shot.
No, a shotgun, that kind of seems, I'm not really down
Gruesome?
for that. Like, not
Yeah.
in the face, you know?
Yeah. Well, I have.
But,
I've gone quite a few years without getting shot with a shotgun in the face.
Okay, all
And
right.
it's been a good couple of years.
I don't want to get stabbed.
Mhm.
It sounds...
I have been stabbed one time, and
it
I
just
have to
doesn't
admit
sound good
it's
to me.
fairly unpleasant.
I don't, stabbing is not for me, so, whatever.
Right.
But
But
like you said,
back to
we
the
wanna-
Fourth Amendment. We have a really we're really on a slippery slope right now with the Fourth Amendment. I think it's paramount that everybody takes extra care right now in our current, the current weather of our culture.
Well,
Takes extra care with their information.
Well, I mean, like, you're afraid. Like, if I say to you, hey, it's a great idea, we should go on, like, one of these websites out there, FireQuest or any of them out there, and download a copy of the freaking, the Anarchist Cookbook.
Uh-huh.
Right away, you're like, oh, red flag. I
Right.
really don't want to use my computer and do that.
Right.
I don't want to, and that's
I might do it at the library, but I do
and
have a
that's-
copy
but
of
you're
the
not going to order
Anarchist
it
Cookbook.
and whatever, and you get
Right.
worried about it. And maybe you're the guy who's like, screw it, I'm already on their list, I don't care. But the fact that it crosses your mind is a problem.
That's scary, isn't it?
And that's
'Cause,
exactly contradictory
You know
to what we're
whose
reading in
whose
the Fourth
business it
Amendment.
is? If you're interested in learning how to make a bomb, nobody's. That's
There
whose
you
fucking
go.
business that is.
And it's ridiculous. So, I mean, again, we want, their job is to keep us safe, whatever, but, it says from, I don't know.
Yeah.
Enemy
Well,
foreign and domestic, but just
Let me
the
ask
same.
you a question. How concerned are you on a day-to-day basis that you're going to get killed by a terrorist?
Well, I know we talked about this in the past,
Mhm.
and no, I agree. It is not high
It's
on
not
the,
very likely.
not high on the list
yeah.
of
I mean,
probabilities.
if you live in New York City, Well, you're an idiot, but it might
be,
happen.
It could be that I'm a badass, and that's why I'm not afraid of being killed by a terrorist. You didn't consider that, did you?
I think that in your career, you've probably contributed to the death of a couple of terrorists.
I think
I would consider that likely.
I mean, I would say I definitely have. So, moving right along, take us to the Fifth Amendment, right to due process.
Now, this one is sketchy, and I've got a lot of personal opinions on this one here, but I'm going to read it out.
The double jeopardy part? Is that what throws you?
Well, there's a lot in here.
All right.
No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
So you're saying that really they can't strong-arm interrogation with U.S. citizens.
When it says that you have a...
unless the time of war...
You can't be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against yourself. Basically what they're saying is you can't be tortured into confessing to a crime you didn't commit.
All right.
Now, I know it's still a problem. People act like it isn't, but there is still a problem with people confessing to crimes that they did not commit. Now, that's usually just in cases of people being stupid. If you ever get arrested, keep your mouth shut. That's the smartest thing you can do. Keep your mouth shut and get a lawyer. You can't afford a lawyer? Well, you should have been prepared. That's my opinion.
If you
should
can't
have a
afford
rainy
lawyer,
day fund.
Get some friends and get a lawyer.
Have a rainy day fund because you might get arrested for something you didn't do, and you might have to spend your own money to protect yourself. And if you think that you're going to talk the police out of believing that you did it, you're an idiot. Think again. Keep your mouth shut and get a lawyer, and tell your lawyer everything that he needs to be told, and let him express to the proper authorities the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Now 6 and 7 are right to a speedy trial, and then a trial by a jury of your peers.
Now, do you think that what they considered a speedy trial and what we consider a speedy trial is different, or what the government considers a speedy trial?
I do, but I bet things didn't move all that fast back then either, honestly. But, yeah, I mean, for the stuff to drag out is ridiculous. And
I mean, there's definitely a big congestion in our judicial system right now.
But, then again, I'm not excited about running in for jury duty any more frequent than I already am.
Let me tell you something. My wife has an excellent story about it, and she's going to have to tell it sometime.
Uh-oh.
But she had to miss a day of work to go to jury trial. Jury duty.
Right.
And they were going down the list.
Yep.
One after another, why, whether or not you should be selected as a juror. And when they finally got to her, she said, it's 2 o'clock. I've missed an entire day of work. And if you put me on this jury, I'm going to agree with everybody else to get it done as fast as possible so I can get back to work. And they immediately kicked her out of the list.
They said, you're out, huh?
She said, I have no interest in justice. I only have an interest in being done as soon as possible. And I am not going to vote against anybody else, and I'm going to make this happen
now you're
as
saying
quickly as
so she's
possible.
not really trying to take part in the system.
Right.
Here.
She's not somebody I want to be on my jury.
No?
No.
Especially when they're like, that boy's guilty.
And she had no tolerance for the bullshit.
All right. I know when I went in for jury duty, the district attorney gets up there and he goes, well, I don't know what you guys have seen on TV, but we don't have, like, facts and evidence and these things you see on the crime shows. He goes, it's more like people are going to talk and you're going to have to be like, yeah, I think he's telling the truth, or no, he's not. And that's pretty much it. And then I have to add, he also said, and this case involves prostitutes and drugs and things like that you might disagree with, But we're not talking about that. We just want you to decide whether a crime was committed in relation to this one narrow part of, what the case is. And I was like, really? You don't have any facts or
No
evidence?
evidence?
And I'm like,
How do you even
just
bring
innocent.
somebody in?
Get
for,
the hell
for-
out of
yeah.
here. This doesn't even make
Yeah.
sense.
That sounds like somebody that would be found innocent if I was on the
Yeah, I'm like, this is just, and it was clear these were people who should probably be locked away for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, how can you, we're going to arrest him, but we don't have any facts, evidence, or actually he didn't have any witnesses. And I'm like, yeah.
See, but that's, it's that sort
And that
of
was a
thinking.
criminal case.
Right, it's
I'm
that
like,
sort of thinking that gets people that didn't commit a crime
Yeah.
locked up. Now,
Yeah.
maybe this person was guilty, and there's
Oh,
probably a strong
probably was.
possibility.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you or I can't be arrested and
Yeah.
put on trial.
And I didn't
And
do
then
anything wrong.
then the guy says to the jury
The
that we
same
don't have
thing.
any actual evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
you have
And
to
it's like
be
it doesn't
careful.
work that way.
Right.
And we're not exactly podunk or anything, but it's unbelievable to me.
Mhm. That brings us to Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Now, I think we have a pretty broad idea of what cruel and unusual punishment is, and I don't think there's enough cruel and unusual punishment, in my opinion.
Well, you're a kind of harsh guy, so.
Right. I remember a case recently of a woman getting stopped and being late for work by a school bus, loading children in and out. So she decided to drive up on the curb around the school bus to get around it.
If you got to get to work.
You got to get there. And the first time they didn't even catch her, but the second time she did it, the school bus driver wrote down her license plate, and her punishment was to wear a sign on that corner saying, "I am an idiot." And now a lot of people said that was unusual punishment.
I got to say, it's kind of
It is unusual, but I think that is completely justified.
All right.
She probably learned a lot more from that than sitting in jail for a day or two.
Well, I don't know where that judge came up with that, but
I like
whatever.
it. I liked it. I approve.
Now, number 9 is, honestly, I'm not a lawyer, and honestly, I should know more and whatever, but it's, other enumerated rights from the people can't be violated, and I don't know enough about it to not sound like an idiot, so I'm going to leave that one alone.
All right.
Now, number 10, the power is reserved to the states. Now, this one seems to get overlooked and people act like it's no big deal. But the bottom line, it says that the federal government only has the powers granted to it in the Constitution, and everything else is up to the states. And
I think
that's
it's-
huge. And
I
the
think it's
government
pretty
oversteps
hard.
and regulates so many different things.
Absolutely.
And that's where we get all our 3-letter agencies
Right.
and everything comes from.
It's pretty hard to make a law that applies to 350 million people. I think it's closer to 330 million people.
Yeah,
But
sounds
regardless,
about right.
federal government should be, I think, should be much smaller. And if you were to classify my political stance, I would call myself an anti-federalist. That sounds very ancient.
It does sound a little ancient.
But I fully believe in states' rights over government rights because, there is a huge discrepancy. When we live in New York State,
All right.
if you were to travel to Tennessee,
All right.
the rules would be completely different. New York State, you really can't, wipe your butt without getting a permit.
We do like permits.
It's pretty expensive to even live in New York State without breaking laws.
Yes.
It's very hard to get a handgun in New York
It's hard
State.
to get a handgun.
Very hard. It's hard to even make an addition on your house. But there are a lot of crazy people in New York, and when you're dealing with a city like New York City, for example, and you have people right on top of each other, it's not, maybe not the best that everybody is armed because there'd be a lot of dead people. But that law should not apply to rural Kentucky.
All right.
And I believe in states' rights in the sense that there's different types of environments.
Right.
And different laws should apply to these different environments. And for one big federal government to make laws regulating what everybody does.
So you're saying that the federal government maybe shouldn't decide what light bulb you have in your house. That might be an overreach.
Maybe a little bit of an overreach.
All right.
Not such a huge fan
You didn't
of
read
the
that
DEA.
in the Constitution? That
No, I'm not a huge fan of
All
the
right.
FDA. Not a huge fan. Anything that starts with 3 letters, not a huge fan of.
All right.
Some of them are necessary. Most of them are not.
Now, I know, this show, it's about prepping, survival, and basic badass, right?
Right.
So, if you're going to be an American, you got to know where you're coming from. And, honestly, the reason most of us prep and do everything we do is because we love our way of life and we want to protect it.
Right.
We love freedom. We love what America affords us. And as frustrating and difficult as times get, it's still a pretty great place compared to, everywhere else in the world. And,
That's absolutely true.
it is an idea that's worth defending. And honestly, even if you're like, America's gone too far and we need to, start over and get back to our roots, even if you look like that, maybe our kids and maybe these people need to know what our roots are. And it's
Right.
important that every once in a while we take a little time and reflect of, what it is that we're trying to protect and what we're fighting for.
What are our values?
And,
I think that's
where
the important thing.
where we come from. So, with that, check us out online at preppingbadass.com and see you next week.